Hello, it's Ruby, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how you can concentrate for longer periods of time. So 2 years ago I posted a 14-hour study with me, which has so far got something like 2 million views. It's my most popular video on my channel, and the question which I got most frequently on that video, and which I've got at least once on every video that followed it, is how did I manage to study for that long? How did I manage to study for such long periods of time and still work productively? So I wanted to talk to you about how I was able to do that and how I am able to concentrate for such long periods of time. So one disclaimer just to point out before I start is that by making this video I'm not recommending that you do 14-hour, 15-hour study days, and these tips can be applied to anything which you need to concentrate for long periods of time on. So that's not necessarily just school, and it might not be that you need to concentrate for 14 or 15 hours. It might be that you need to concentrate for 2 hours or 1 hour without getting distracted. Another thing to point out is that I actually don't study for that long anymore. So when I was in sixth form, I studied for long periods of time, 14, 15 hours. I don't do that at all anymore. That's just because I wanted to focus more time on other things. But nonetheless, I have done long study days in the past, and these are the tips that worked for me. So hopefully this video is going to be helpful. Once again, just to stress, I'm not trying to advise you on doing 14, 15 hours. I don't do that anymore, as I said. You can succeed perfectly well without doing it. If you'd like me to do a video which is reflecting on me doing 14, 15 hour study days, then please let me know. Okay, so studying for long periods of time comes down to 4 things: motivation, avoiding procrastination, and flow. So motivation, avoiding procrastination, and flow are all components of focus. First thing that I'm going to point out is motivation. So motivation is so important. Motivation is what will keep you going when you're studying. Motivation is what's going to stop you from putting down your books after an hour or 2 hours. It's going to allow you to work for a much longer period of time. So I recently read a really great book, which was The Motivation Myth by Jeff Sadin. And the quote which sticks with me the most from this book is one that he uses time and time again: success leads to motivation, leads to success, leads to motivation. So accomplishing something is the only way of being motivated. That's how we motivate ourselves. And so if we're going to feel motivated when we're working and continue working for a long period of time, then we need to keep up that level of success. We need to have small successes which are going to help us to continue. The way that I manage to get around this is by using to-do lists. This is why I'm such a massive fan of to-do lists. So if I have a massive task, I will break it up into smaller to-do lists. So if I need to write an essay, I will break it up into paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, conclusion. And then I can tick these boxes as I'm going through and I'm accomplishing these small things. But it really just keeps your motivation, keeps your stamina, keeps your momentum up. Another thing which can help with motivation is make it manageable. You can't set like 80 tasks for you to do in one day, each of which is going to take you an hour, because that's impossible, and that's going to be demotivating when you look at it. You want to be ambitious, do be ambitious, but don't overestimate how much you can do. That's going to inhibit how much success you feel. And then the final thing that I can recommend on the motivation front is timetables. So if you are making good headway and you continue going through and ticking off at the right pace that you've set for yourself already, so 9 till 10 I'm going to write a philosophy essay. If you're sticking to the pace that you planned for you to stick at, that is a success, and I found that that led to motivation. So timetables also come into avoiding procrastination. So I will make a timetable which is very strict. It helps to regulate my study session and my time, making sure that I don't procrastinate and I don't give myself those empty minutes where I can go on my phone without it being scheduled. You know that you're going to want to watch YouTube videos, so you can put that into your timetable. There's nothing wrong with that. This just helps to keep up that momentum again, so you just keep on going and you don't really have reason to procrastinate because everything's already planned out for you. Some really interesting psychology on the idea of choices, and when we have a choice to do something, if you eliminate choice from your routine, you don't have the option to procrastinate, and so you're less likely to. It's when you have the choice of whether you're going to go ahead with doing this essay or going on your phone that you're more likely to go on your phone. But if you don't give yourself that choice, then you're not going to go on your phone. Okay, now we're going to go into flow, which is the most important thing when it comes to studying for long hours or doing anything for long hours. So in Camille Preston's book, Create More Flow, she says, more time in flow means feeling great and creating great things. Flow is that state where you are content in what you are doing, you are completely focused, you are completely invested. And it's quite a difficult state to get into sometimes, but I think that through the motivation and avoiding procrastination, we can get into this state. For me, it was always about finding flow. If I didn't have flow, there was no way that I was going to be able to sit down and study for that long. One component of this for me was feeling relaxed. If I felt stressed, I would never be able to study for that long. Things would be going around in my mind. I wouldn't be able to commit myself and focus my mind entirely on the task at hand. The thing that I would always recommend is making sure that you are relaxed when you start studying. And that is a video that's actually something I've spoken about a bit in my video, How to Enjoy Studying, where I talk about how I managed to get into this state. So do go check that out because I don't want to repeat myself loads here. Okay, so then a few other bits that I want to focus on. So another thing that I would do which would help me to keep working for long periods of time would be to switch between activities, and this doesn't really work for everyone. I've had some people say that this isn't a very effective strategy, but it really works for me because it prevents me from getting bored with anything. So you commit to something, you are entirely focused, but it's natural that eventually you're going to start to think, okay, this is getting a bit samey, I want some change. So what I would do is I would schedule my study sessions so that I go between subjects. I go from chemistry to Spanish to English to RS, and I just fluctuate between them. So it's not only with subjects though, so I would fluctuate between passive and active revision, and most importantly, I go between learning new things and revising old things. I love learning. I really love learning, and the part that I always found most tedious, the part that I still find most tedious about studying, is the fact that you've got to spend so much time going over things you already know. And I like it when you're giving yourself new opportunities to analyze or reflect, or, you know, widen your horizons with relation to a particular piece of work. Sometimes it can be not necessarily passive, but it's just about regurgitating, and that's not something I enjoy. I don't enjoy memorizing, but I really love when I'm able to add something new in and do some research. So I would fluctuate a lot between going over flashcards and then adding to my flashcards or reading some extension essays, and it really helped me to sustain my motivation throughout. Another thing which can be helpful is to have a motivational method / routine. So if you're not feeling motivated, this is something that you can fall back on. And I've actually got an example on my channel because I have my own motivational routine which I do follow if I'm not feeling motivated. Another thing that I really recommend is to keep goals and also keep in mind the intrinsic worth of what you are doing. So this whole premise of enjoying studying comes down to something which is known as the Sawyer effect, which I will leave more information about below, and please let me know if you want me to do a video talking about this in more depth. But basically the Sawyer effect says that we can turn anything into play, so we can turn work into play in the same way that Tom Sawyer pretends that painting the fence, which is work, is something really fun and really enjoyable. And we can do that with anything, and I really think we can do it with studying if we commit to doing that. In my experience, that's really the best way to optimize flow, because otherwise you're so focused on reward and you're so focused on what comes next. Yeah. So I hope that this video was helpful. I know it was quite rambly, it was quite long, and there was quite a lot of content too, but nonetheless, I hope that it was helpful, and I hope that it helps you to sustain concentration, motivation when you're studying or doing any sort of work task that does require a great degree of focus. So thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a productive week.